on this episode of Law Unpacked.
Clients are going through such a hard time, okay? Your debt doesn't define who you are as a person.
My parents filed bankruptcy. My dad lost his job, and it was a sense of relief. I always remember the calls that we would constantly get, and then just them stopping.
Yeah, agreed.
Apparently, I have fireworks going on behind me.
That must have been a good answer that I gave you.
That must have been great because I have no idea what just happened, and it was spectacular. Welcome back to Law Unpacked. I'm your host, Shawn DeVries, and today's episode is an important one for anyone considering bankruptcy or even currently going through it. Our guest today is Kelly Overton, the founder of Evergreen Financial Counseling. Kelly specializes in providing essential pre- and post-bankruptcy counseling, which, as many of you know, is a legal requirement for anyone filing for bankruptcy. But these courses are more than just a formality. They offer crucial tools to help people rebuild their financial lives after bankruptcy. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. I'm happy to be here, really.
Well, Kelly, I'd love to start by asking, what inspired you to create Evergreen Financial Counseling?
Well, a while ago, I worked for a different company, and in the past, when I was presented with this opportunity to run Evergreen, I just kind of jumped at the chance because I just wanted this to be easier for clients, more understandable for clients, to help attorneys with their clients. So just through the whole bankruptcy process, because a lot of times, the clients are confused, scared, worried, and I just wanted to help individuals go through the process, judgment-free zone, if you know what I mean.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And were you in credit counseling prior to joining or coming on board or coming to this company?
Yes, I'm a certified credit counselor. I have been for many years. But yeah, and there's so much I love to share, and it's all in our classes when clients take it online or over the phone.
Well, excellent. Well, that's really insightful. It
Yeah.
sounds like there's a significant need for more financial education, especially when people are at such vulnerable
Yeah.
points in their lives.
Yes.
What do you think the biggest gaps in financial education for people going through bankruptcy are?
Going through bankruptcy, I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions, and I know we might talk about that again in a minute, but it's just misconceptions. And I feel like when it comes to financial counseling, if you make it easy and you'll do it. I think sometimes financial counseling, they think it's too hard, or they may not have enough money, they don't have to do it or whatnot. But I feel like if it's made easy and it fits your lifestyle, it will work for you. Not everybody can be on the same type of financial, studies, like, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's different. Everybody makes different, and different ways work for different people.
And so, one of the gaps what are your thoughts on the gaps in finance? What are a lot of the courses not covering that maybe should cover?
I feel like the difference between, here's an example. One thing I share with clients is really just looking at your bills, looking at that credit card, don't be afraid to open your mail. Make sure you know what your interest rate is. A lot of times they don't know how much they're spending. So I feel like a lot of that is just teaching, going back to the beginning, and really just learning how to look at your credit card statement and know exactly where your money is going.
Now, I imagine taking these classes can be a real turning point for many individuals. Let's
Yeah, yeah,
let's dive into the specifics of pre-bankruptcy counseling process. This is a requirement before someone can even file for bankruptcy.
absolutely. Yeah, and I one of the reasons why I love it so much, especially bankruptcy counseling, is a lot of times clients are going through such a hard time, okay? Whether it's loss of a loved one, loss of a job, they are just really going through a hard time. And they don't want to, they think filing bankruptcy is the worst thing that could, that they could go through. But one of the things that I really try to get across is your debt doesn't define who you are as a person. I believe that wholeheartedly. So this first course really talks about that. The pre-counseling just talks about the difference in chapter 7 and chapter 13, just talks and answers some of the simple questions that they may be too embarrassed to ask their attorney or whatnot. So a lot of the times clients, they'll call and they're dreading having to do this. They feel like they have to do it. They don't want to do it. And I promise them, I'm like, it's just informational. You're really going to love it. And sure enough, I'm not exaggerating. About 8 out of 10 people will say, wow, I wish I would have known this when I was in high school before I started college. I wish I would have taken this class before I got my first credit card. So, and that makes me really happy to hear. So, that's one of the things that I love about the credit counseling.
Well, I feel like financial literacy is something that we can all do better on. I shared on a couple podcasts ago that the reason I really like practicing in the bankruptcy area is when I was growing up, my parents filed bankruptcy. My dad lost his job, and it was a sense of relief. I always remember the calls that we would constantly get, and then just them stopping, and it really helped my family. And here I am today saying, "Hey, bankruptcy is not that bad. Look where it can go."
Oh, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Life is just, you got to take it one day at a time. And, a lot of the times they think bankruptcy is the end when really it's a new start, really. I don't play golf, but I have a favorite word, mulligan, which means do-over. And I always say, we all need that mulligan. We all need to just start fresh. We've been through something, we're going to move forward. So what do we need to do first? And again, with that credit counseling, it gives them different ways to budget. They learn to budget and track their expenses. And a lot of times, because now, back in the day, we all wrote checks. Now everybody's using their debit card, not writing down what they're spending because they think they can remember, but it just, gets you in trouble. So it's just about tracking your expenses and finding a way that's good for you, even if it's the old method of putting money in an envelope, that method, right, from a long time ago. So, it's
Stashing it
just,
under the bed or under the mattress.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So there's multiple courses, and we're going to get into each of the courses through the bankruptcy process. But could
Okay.
you tell me kind of specifics on what does that first course cover?
Yeah. Again, the first course covers, again, that our course anyway starts with remembering that this doesn't define you. And it really talks about how to read and understand interest rate. And, I one of the scenarios I love to talk about is when you're going to go buy some new jeans, okay? And you're trying to decide, am I going to use this debit card? Like, think of it as a pay card, or am I going to use this credit card, which think of it as a loan card? So when you went to go buy those $30 jeans, are you going to want to take a loan out on those jeans and then pay, 25% interest on those jeans? So sometimes it's just about knowing where your money is going and understanding the interest rate and how much you really will be spending for, your jeans or whatever. And it
Yeah.
talks a lot about savings. I feel like we're in a world where everything's so fast, right? We have microwave ovens. We have drive-throughs. We're always going. We're always going. And it's okay to want things. It's okay to want that big screen TV so you can watch the Chiefs play football, right? There's nothing wrong with that. It's just sometimes if you save for it, and then you get it. Most of the time, by the time you've saved enough, it's on sale, and then you pay cash for it, and that's just a good feeling. And I feel like people think, oh, well, I'm never going to get this TV. You can. You just don't need it. If you can not get it right this second and save for it, sometimes that works better.
So I think to recap that first bankruptcy course, what they can expect is one, they're going to go over the two chapters for the two primary chapters for consumers, chapter 7
Right.
and chapter 13. They're going to go over interest rates and how to read a credit card statement per se.
Right. Yes.
And
It gives them a sample of a credit card and it kind of shows them. And they'll also make a budget. They'll write down their expenses and they'll get a debt to income ratio. It automatically does it for them. So they take it, they kind of put in their income, their expenses, how much they owe, stuff like that. And then it will tell them. And then it's a tool they can use. They can log back in after the bankruptcy and do it again if they want to, and then they can see how it's improving.
well, that debt to income ratio is really important, is it not? That may
Yes,
determine how they get their apartments or where they're staying. Is that accurate? Or
absolutely, absolutely. You don't realize, or how much you're going to pay for a car, or, can you even some jobs, I don't, if they're in a certain field, they'll check it. And so, yes, absolutely. It might, you want to keep that in the back of your mind when you want to go rent an apartment or something like that.
well, that makes a lot of sense. Why do you think the pre-bankruptcy counseling process is such an important part of that bankruptcy process? A lot of people may say it's a waste of time, but why do you feel that this is so important for just a big step for someone to do?
Honestly, and I get that, when I talk to clients first, they're kind of like, ah, I have to do this. And then when they realize it's more informational than anything, and we're just here to help, um, again, I feel like it's so helpful for them to understand the difference. Of course, their attorney's going to be the best source to tell them what chapter fits them, but it's good to understand both. And that's what we tell them. Your attorney is wiser than I am on what chapter you should file. But it just kind of explains the different types of bankruptcies, and like I said, and kind of lets them know, wow, there is life after bankruptcy. This isn't the end of my world as we know it. So I feel like that's really important.
Well, I grew up thinking that knowledge is power, and I think it's really crucial
Oh
for
my
people to
gosh.
have a clear understanding of their options before they make such a big decision.
Agreed.
And that,
Agreed. Because in my generation, at least in my family, we didn't talk about money. We just didn't. I mean, they didn't. My dad was in the Air Force, and we didn't have a lot, but we certainly didn't talk about it. But you can certainly feel it in the household when there is, money issues. And so, I feel like one of the things that I tell people is talk about it, you know, just talk about it, and talk about it with, your older children too. Help them learn how to save and understand, especially before they enter college.
Well, and your title is counselor, and what your staff is doing is counseling, and so
Hmm.
I think that that's definitely a huge part of it is really getting people to learn to talk about it and allowing them to express their frustrations or their feelings on what they're going through.
Yeah. You know, again, when we get a client that feels like they've lost so much, whether it be, you know, a marriage or a illness, um, they're tired. You can hear it in them, when they first call, and then after they call, it's almost like you can see that, that was actually really informative, because we're not saying, hey, budget and track your expenses just like this. We give them different, like I said earlier, we give them different ideas on ways that will fit them and ways that will work for them, and so to me, it's just starting, and I feel like if it's easy, people will do it.
Sure, sure. I mean, I agree. The getting people to take that first step is often the hardest part, and
Yeah,
at least for my clients, picking up the phone and calling us is usually that hardest part. But the second hardest part is to have to go through the credit counseling, and you provide
hmm,
such knowledge to them where again that knowledge is power and really gives everybody the opportunity to learn.
absolutely, absolutely. And I feel like it's important too to be, and not too, but we've all been through a hard time in our lives. We've all been through something. So it's, I want to help. We want to help. I don't want to judge you. I want to help you be successful and move forward, because this is going to help you, and so that's my passion about it, it's just helping. Some are more quieter than others. I will say that. But then we have some that will call us back and ask us questions, and I love it. I love it.
That's great to know. I never actually knew that any of our clients had that opportunity to be able to give you a call back and just ask questions. So
Oh,
that's
we
a great
tell them,
feature that.
call me anytime. And we tell them, go back into your class, redo that budget. When this is over, go use it as a tool, and then we give them other tools. We actually email them their budget analysis, and they can, if they're computer savvy, you can um, go and edit it and change it. And those who do not do it online and they listen to us over the phone, we personally do it with them, and so that's really rewarding to do their budget with them. And they have to ask, answer a lot of questions, but hopefully we've built that relationship where they trust us and feel comfortable talking to us about it.
And walk me through that first course. You said you're talking to them on the phone. Is it always by telephone? Is it by how does one complete that first course?
Well, I also feel like individuals communicate different ways. So, and again, I want to make it so they're not stressed, so they can live chat us when they're done, if they would rather just text us, and we will have the conversation over text, or they call us. Either one, either way. Some just prefer to, they're still for whatever embarrassed, or they don't want to talk to us, so they live chat with us.
So you mentioned when they're done. Is there what do they do before that part?
Well, they'll take the class online. It takes about, depending, but let's about 60 minutes. And they'll take the class online, and on the very last page, it says you can call or text us. And then they call us or they text us, and we kind of go over their budget with them, and then we issue their certificate for them, and we email it to them.
And not to sound like I'm really trying to get into the nitty gritty, but when you say that you take the course online, what does that entail? Is that a slideshow? You mentioned questions.
Yeah, yeah. The course is little videos. Actually, they log into our class on evergreenclass.com, and there's a little reading, but there's also just videos that kind of reads along. So you don't have to sit there and read, and get distracted. There's a video, and so there's different chapters, and you'll just go one page to the next, and it just talks about, like we said, the different types of bankruptcy, the different ways to budget and track your expenses, and to use credit wisely and understanding that. And it's a video, and it's samples and things that they can print off. Like if they want to, just everything is printable too. So it just gives them a lot of things and tools that they can print out and take with them if they want to.
Well, I think that everybody learns differently. I know I do. I'm much more of a hands-on learner, but it
Right.
really sounds like you're giving them opportunities to either watch a video if they're visual learners.
Right.
You're asking questions or having them do questions, so that's more the hands-on. So it
Yeah.
sounds like you kind of have everything covered. I'm sure you can read it as well.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah. You can read or watch the videos. Yes, absolutely. I figured, like you said, not everybody learns the same way. I know sometimes, I'm reading and then I'm also thinking about something else. And I'm like, what did I just read? What did that just say? So, for me, I would probably rather watch the videos and then hit next and watch the videos and go forward. And then, so it really is a lot of information. And again, they have the class forever. They can log back into it anytime they want to hear part of it again. And just because it's required by law to take the class, it's very helpful. And I feel like most clients are excited that they took it. And it helps them realize they're fixing to start fresh. And it gives them hope of a new future ahead.
That's great. That's really good. And I think again, knowledge is power, and this is just kind of one step to build on that.
I agree. I agree. But attorneys like you, and I mean this sincerely, are so informational too. I love it whenever, especially one of your clients are like, oh, my attorney told, my attorney explained this to me. My attorney explained this to me, and that's great. So it, that's always helpful when there's good attorneys out there like you that are really helping them, and you can tell that you care about your clients and just kind of helping them through the process.
So, well, let's switch gears a little bit. We mentioned there's multiple classes that you have to take. So let's switch gears and talk about the after someone files for bankruptcy, they're also required to complete a post-bankruptcy financial management course. What does that course involve?
That is a lot of, it's so informational. It's probably, I guess they're both my favorites, but I love this for afterwards because Evergreen is about really wanting to help them through the bankruptcy and after the bankruptcy. Okay. So, after they file, they need to take the second course, and it talks about, it kind of goes over a little bit more about interest rates and stuff like that, but it talks about different ways to help your credit score, to help your credit improve after bankruptcy, and talks about a lot of the myths about bankruptcy and just how little things that you can do to help keep your budget and your tracking your expenses. So it just talks about, like I said, it just talks about life after bankruptcy, different credit cards, different things you want to look at, things like that.
Well, it's really encouraging to know that the post-bankruptcy course sets individuals up for financial success, but
Yeah.
providing them with these tools that they need to avoid from falling into the same patterns that led them there to begin with.
Right. Yes. And they see it, especially, now they can, like, they filed and now they can go over that budget again, and they can see the difference, and they can see really, oh my gosh, there is light at the end of this tunnel. And yeah, and it helps them, it's almost like, remember, here are these tools. We give them tools also how do you look at your credit report? Okay, that is the main thing. You want to make sure that you look at your credit report, and it's, we have every credit bureau's phone number, email. We even have a letter that is pre-written that they can kind of edit and send if there's something wrong still on their credit report. So it's about looking at that, and we teach them how to clean that up, and and what to say, and who to call or who to email. They don't even, well, how do I get this? Is not supposed to be on my credit report anymore. So we teach them tools on how to do that.
There are a lot of myths surrounding bankruptcy, especially when it
Absolutely.
comes to those mandatory counseling sessions. What are some of the biggest misconceptions that you've encountered from clients about these courses?
Um, Not so much the courses, they're just misconceptions about bankruptcy in general, and like, if I file, I will never get a credit card again, or if I file, I will never get a car again. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to look bad on me forever, and I'm never going to be able to rebuild my credit. And that's one of the biggest, misconceptions that we hear anyway. Is just that, they think that, oh no, for 7 years, I'm not going to be able to get a car, or 7 years or 10 years, I'm not going to be able to have any credit. So that's the biggest. Or they think, they're going to have a bankruptcy on their credit report. So they're going to have bad credit for 7, 10 years. And so when we explain that that's not necessarily the case, um, they're like, really? Really? And then they see it, and then it does come to life that, yes, you're right. You can file bankruptcy and still move forward and still get that credit. So,
Well, I think it's great that your people offer this value added, and it really helps them see the value of this education, because those
mhm.
misconceptions are something that we always hear about, especially as a bankruptcy attorney, or if you're on social media. There's all sorts of uh, misconceptions out there that just aren't true.
Oh, yeah. Like, or I hear just the other day, I don't want to file. I just don't want to file because I just heard that, bad people file, people that don't want to pay, and the world's going to know I filed bankruptcy. And yeah, again, and I know I said this, but I really believe, I can't say it enough, that it just doesn't define you. That is not what defines who you are, and so that's the biggest misconception too, is that they feel like they're going to be looked bad upon.
Yeah, and I feel like we've talked a lot about this already in our conversation, but how does Evergreen specifically help people manage the emotional toll of bankruptcy while guiding them through this financial recovery?
Because we've all been through this, and so at least the counselors and I, the ones that work for me anyway, uh, we've all been, maybe not through bankruptcy, well, one of them has, but but been through a hard time. And we're more excited for you. And we try to get that across, that, man, this is a new beginning. This isn't the end. This is a new chapter. And, that's what we try to just say over. And it says it in the class too. It gives them some examples of, you know, falling. We all fall. And sometimes you need help getting back up, and that's all we're doing. We're just trying to help you get back up so you can keep going.
Well, I definitely think it's hard for a lot of people to overlook um, how to really emotionally recover from bankruptcy. So having these counselors really help them, having them guide them through the process has got to be a relief for our clients that go through this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. I
So
agree. The second course says it gives them all kinds of tools like I said, a tracking tool, like a tool to do your budget. If this works for you, if this sheet doesn't work for you, then I'll help you find something else that works for you. Just write it down. And so I feel like if they're really doing the class and they've done their bankruptcy, they've listened to their attorney, they're ready for success. They are ready to move forward, and it's exciting to see them at the end of this and being ready to go. It just is exciting.
Well,
It's
one of
rewarding.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that last part.
It's rewarding. It's
Ah,
just rewarding. Yeah.
yeah, really helping people get over those milestones, I think, and watching them rebuild. Which
Correct.
brings us to our next topic. One of the things people most want to know after filing bankruptcy is how can they rebuild their credit? You offer
Right.
something exclusive through Evergreen Counseling that really teaches people how to rebuild their credit. Why don't you tell us
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah. It is 7 steps to a 720 credit score. And this is a free class, and this is phenomenal. And what it does is they'll automatically get enrolled in this, and then it's emails and classes sent to their email, okay? And it gives them the tools again, a lot like our second class at Evergreen, but this is a little bit more in depth. Like, okay, here we go. This week we're going to do this. This week let's look at your credit report, okay? And then how are we going to look at this? And then what are we going to do about this? And it just teaches them how to do it. And it's step by step. And if they just follow all the steps in this weekly lesson, they can get they can get their credit score back up. Like we give them credit cards that we have. I say we, but the inventor of this, but we give them credit cards that we feel would be best for them. We give them the name. We tell them what to look for again, just in case, but we give them just a lot of information to use. And what I love about the 7 steps to 720 credit score is that it's not all at you at once. It's almost like, okay, week 1, this is what we're going to do. You know what I'm saying? Week 2,
Sure.
this is what we're going to do. And I feel like it's really helpful. Little mini steps to get your score back up to a 720.
And just give us an example. What are one of those practical steps that somebody can do to help get their credit score back up after bankruptcy?
Really, it's it's simple. But now that you're done with the bankruptcy, you just want to, one, pay your bills on time, but be smart on what credit card you're going to get, and pay that and use that and pay that one off. We give you 3 different ones to use. But I feel like just writing down your budget, again, writing down your expenses, and I keep saying that, and then getting the right credit card to move forward, and paying that each month.
And so you advise on you advise that 3 different credit cards, and you provide which ones and why for them to
Right.
look into to get.
Yes, absolutely. And then check. I mean, continually, check your credit report. That is a good thing to learn how to do that people just don't do. Keep checking your credit reports at all 3 different bureaus. We can also help you do that. But keeping that clean, making sure that's right, because mistakes happen or things haven't came off. So, we're here to help you move forward. And so we can help them if they have any problems or they don't understand. There's also weekly Q&As, and it's free to them too. And they can go into these Q&As and ask whatever questions that they have, or talk about where they're struggling, and we will continue to help them move forward through these Q&As.
Well, that's really helpful advice,
Mm-hmm.
and it's good to know that rebuilding credit is not as impossible as it might seem.
No,
And especially with the right guidance, people can see positive changes in a relatively short time.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, we talked a little bit about how you go over budgeting in that first step.
Hmm.
Tell me, how do your team help our clients create a budget that they can stick to after bankruptcy?
Um, we just, again, it's about what works for you. Okay. So let's say, here's one. I had somebody call not that long ago, and she was real excited because she didn't think she was going to get a car after bankruptcy. It was like 3 months after, but already she's doing the 720, and already her credit score isn't where she wanted to be, but it was good enough. She got a car. We give um, some place for them to go and get a car. We have some recommendations, or sometimes their attorney does. But we suggest Ash Auto Group. But anyway, she emailed me a picture. She said, "Kelly, look at this car. You know, you were right by teaching me how to do this. I can afford this because I wrote it down." And she just ended up getting a simple spreadsheet off of, I think, Excel is what she found worked for her. It's what works for you best. And so she found it on Excel, and she goes, "You're right, just keeping it written down, like a ledger. I know because I can now see it on paper that I can afford this and I can do this." And so, um, yeah, it's just about what works for them.
Well, I think budgeting is so fundamental, and it's something that so many people struggle with, even
Mhm.
outside of bankruptcy. Having a plan to
Oh, yeah.
stick with it or stick to it is really a game changer for so many.
Yeah. And I like everything else, right? Shoot, if it's not easy, or if you don't understand it, you're not going to do it. And so that's why I try to figure out, or we try to figure out what way would work for you. You can keep using these tools that we gave you. If that doesn't work for you, let's make you something, you know, it's just about, if like dieting, right? If dieting was easier, or we would all be so much more healthier. But it's not that fun, is it? And so you find out what works for you, and it doesn't need to be something complicated to do it. It's about, don't be scared about opening your mouth. And they get to a point before they file bankruptcy that they're just so tired of the bills and the calls that they don't even open their mail. And so it's nice after bankruptcy, we're like, okay, open it, because it could be wrong. It could be something that you can fix. So it's just knowledge, like you said. There's so much knowledge to be had in finances.
So, what are some of the first steps that someone should take just to ensure that they stay on track after bankruptcy?
After bankruptcy, again, I would suggest right after, 7 steps to 720 credit score, like we talked about. Again, that's easy because it's weekly, but you don't want to go back to where you were, and you've got this mulligan, as we say. And so it's just about remembering what you read, and going back and reading more, and open communication, and the knowledge of reading your statements. And then call us if you have any questions. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand this. Why does it say my interest is 32%? Well, we might say, well, you need to call. You need to call, understand where your money's going. Don't be afraid to ask.
I think it's great that you're giving people the tools
Right.
for not only
you know
just short term, but long term
right.
recovery.
Like medical bills. I don't know if you've ever had to look at those medical bills or statements that have everything They're like, wait a minute, look through those, look through your bills, know where your money's going, you know, argue. It's okay. Say, you know what, try to come to an agreement of what you can pay, you know, don't get to where, oh my gosh, this is too much. I can't pay this. Talk to them, set a payment plan that works for you. Say, no, I can pay this month, because you're looking at your budget, you're looking at what you're spending. You keep that and you say, I want to pay this, and this is what I can pay. And just be firm on that and keep to it, and then just pay it, and then it'll be off.
Well, I think keeping that mindset's really huge and really makes a difference long term, even after the
Yeah,
bankruptcy is long in the rearview mirror.
right. Yeah, because people are out for your money, and if it's messed up on a bill, they're not going to catch it most of the time. You're going to pay it, and they're going to be like, oh, you paid $30 more, when you didn't have to, but oh well. I don't know. I just want to keep people from that. And I guess I say that a couple of times throughout this because I used to be like that when I was young. I would be like, oh, I don't want to open this bill. I don't want to. And now I'm like, because I see so many uh, fraudulent things that happen, unfortunately. So you be in control of your finances. You take that control back. Your attorney just helped you. You got through this. Now you're in control. And don't give that control to somebody else. You control your finances.
Well, I think even with the best intentions, some people just fall back into those old habits, even
Agreed.
after completing their bankruptcy. So, what are some common mistakes or pitfalls that people should avoid once they've filed and completed that?
Um, hurry, trying to move too fast, trying to get where they were before. I feel like they go back to just accepting whatever credit card. They go back to not reading. Um, they stop. They're like, oh, I think I've got this. I don't need to write this down. I don't need to, I can do this. I think that is one of them. I also, going back to saving, it's just save. Again, it's okay to want something. But save for it, because it's so much more rewarding in the end when you've saved for something and then you buy it with cash. So I feel like that would be helpful, to just remember you don't need this right now, but you want it. Set goals. Goals are huge. Short term goals, mid term goals, and long goals. You know what I'm saying? Do that. Set goals. I don't care if the goal is, I'm going to save $5 this week. You know what? Save $5. And then in a month, you're going to have like $20, $28. And you're going, oh, I have $20. And then that's going to be, ooh, I can save it for another month. And then the third month comes along, you've got $40, and you're like, you know what? I bet I can save $10 now. So make it a game. Make it a game. See if you can do it. So that's something that we talk a lot about too, is just saving. I think a lot of times people don't save because they think, oh, I need to save $1,000. Don't look at it that way. Start with that shirt. I want to save 20. I want to save 5.
Well, I think that's interesting because I hear you saying staying vigilant is really the goal,
Uh-huh.
but I also hear this game and really making your mindset think that it's a game can really help avoid falling back into those traps.
Yeah, agree. I mean, that works for me. Yeah.
Apparently, I have fireworks going on behind me.
That must have been a good answer that I gave you.
That must have been great because I have no idea what just happened, and it was spectacular.
Ooh, make it a game and the fireworks come off, right?
That's that's it.
But I'm serious. That is big, and I am not, just the scenario, weight loss again. Oh, I gotta lose 50 pounds. No, you gotta lose 5, and I feel the same way about when I'm saving money. Don't look, make those goals and just work on the short term goals. Get through that. Little steps and just keep going.
Well, We talked a little bit. What kind of ongoing support does Evergreen offer to people who've completed their pre, their post, and their 720? Or does that just keep going
That just
on?
really keeps going. It really does. We are here. They can like chat with us. Sometimes they ask us questions. Should I only use the credit cards that 720 recommended? And we're like, okay, well, let's read it. Do you have it in front of you? What does it say? Does it talk about your interest rate? Are you going to have to pay a yearly amount? Is it, you know, is it secured, unsecured? What is it? Well, this one says I have to give $200. No, you don't want to give them money. So we just, sometimes people will call and ask, and it makes me feel good. It's like, oh, yay, I can help her, you know, be like, no, don't, let's keep looking. Let's keep looking. And I'm
Well, I think
happy that
that,
they're,
well, I think you all are in the right mindset. And I think that ongoing support sounds really invaluable,
mhm,
especially for those people that really need that extra support and that guidance and the maintenance and
right,
progress.
right, right. That 720, again, um, we were like, okay, we want to help these clients. And I know this is a mandatory, these two classes are mandatory. But there has to be more than that. We have to help them as they continue their life after bankruptcy. We don't want them to fall back into where they were. So that 720, that's why we do it in weekly installments, because it keeps them going. It's not all at once, and that seems like a lot to read at one time. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it's, I really like the 7 steps to 720 because it just gives them those tools each week, and they just can keep on going with that, with their goals that they're making. So,
Yeah, that
uh,
sounds, I mean, do you have, so taking this more microscopically, do you have any success stories from clients who have gone through bankruptcy and are now stronger now that they've had your counseling program?
absolutely. And, I love it. Like I mentioned earlier, this client, she got a car, and she was a single mom. She has three kids, and she had one job. And, she was scared about being able to get a car to get to work, blah, blah, blah. So the fact that she got one, the fact that her credit, she did what she was supposed to do, what we suggested, what her attorney suggested, she listened, she's doing it. And then for her to send me a picture of her car was like, yay, we celebrated with her, and she did mention, Kelly, I did what you said. They said, oh, your payment's going to be this. And she said, no, I can only pay this. So I'm paying this or I can't get the car. And sure enough, she did it. She stuck to her guns, and it's what she can afford. Stay with what you can afford. And she did that. And she's so excited about her new car and just the chance of moving forward, being knowledged. And she's learned too, like clients are like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk to my children, my teenager, about finances. And this going through this process just helped her know better on how to teach her young teenagers how to do their finances.
I think what you're doing is you're paying it forward, and
Yeah,
hopefully, you're creating not only a better life for that mom, but also her
yeah,
children that are learning from this, like I learned from my parents.
yes, yes. And I think I personally want to help because I didn't have that. My parents didn't. We didn't talk about it, and so um, you know, it's like our children. Like now, my daughter, she's all like, "Oh, I don't want to spend my money. I want to spend your money." And so she's learning. I'm teaching her. Tax. What do you mean? What is interest rate? What are these taxes that this? So it's just about teaching and moving forward, and like you said, just paying it forward.
Well, I think in the end of the day, it really just goes to show that bankruptcy doesn't have to define someone's financial future.
No, no. If anything, they're fine. To me, and If anything, not only does it not define that, it shows I'm done. I want to get control of this somehow. I'm going to control this. I'm going to get better. This is where I'm going to start, and so that I can move forward. I've fallen, and I'm going to need some help getting up, but then I will get back up again, and I'll be able to move forward.
Well, Kelly, this has been an incredibly valuable conversation.
Yeah, I could talk all day about it.
So, your last thoughts: if somebody was facing the possibility of bankruptcy
Mhm.
and they're overwhelmed by the process, what would you say to them?
You know, I know it seems overwhelming, but it's not. You get a good attorney that's going to walk you through the steps. We at Evergreen will walk you through the steps. It's simple. It's not as hard, and it's so great to be able to breathe again, to answer your phone again, to stop avoiding calls. It's the beginning of a mulligan, a new chance, and so just read about it.
Well, I
Ask
think
questions.
that's fantastic advice, and that mulligan, I'm gonna hang on to that. And
Okay.
and really, I think people have to know that they're not alone, and that there is a clear path forward, and
There
especially if they're
is.
willing to take those steps.
There really is. And I feel like we all go through something in our lives so we can teach others. So use it, go through it, move forward, and use it to help others. You never know how you can help somebody in the future because you've been through it.
And Kelly, tell if you could just tell our viewers and our listeners, how do they best contact you and your company?
Yeah, our website is evergreenclass.com. But you can always call us. It's 1-800-581-3513. And, we're open 7 days a week. And you can, just if you have questions, give us a call. Just simple questions. There's no dumb questions.
Well, thank you again, Kelly. And this is
Welcome. I
for
enjoyed
sharing
it.
your insights, your experience. This has really been enlightening. Um, to our listeners, remember that while bankruptcy can seem it's the end of the road, it's
Yeah,
actually an opportunity for a fresh start. And with the
absolutely.
right guidance, you can rebuild your financial life and make it more abundant than ever. If if you have found today's episode helpful, please subscribe and leave us a review. We'll be back with more legal and financial discussions in the next episode. Until then, stay informed, stay empowered. I'm Shawn DeVries. Have a great day.